Hello and welcome back to Polestar Driver. This week we're going to take a look at all the trips submitted for February and add those together with the previous month's data and see if we could come across any interesting trends. So I'd first of all like to say thank you to everyone who submitted their trip data. By the end of February we had 38 different contributors who filled in their name or alias on the website. So let's take a look. Here's our summary page which shows where the data's come from, and we have got data from 7 different countries, 38 contributors with 124 trips as of 28th of February 2021, and this covers just short of 9,000 miles or 14,400 kilometers. So we're starting to collect a good set of data that can start showing us the real world range of a Polestar 2. Here is our progress slide, which shows how many submissions we've had so far, and as I've said before, from September till December basically was just my own trips, and then in January and February we started collecting trips from the community. Over here you can see each of the 38 contributors so far and how many trips they've submitted. So if you've submitted a trip, look out for your name there. And on the next page we have the top 20 based on number of trips submitted and then distance that they've traveled. And if you're in one of these top 20, you can go and see the average speed, kilowatt hours per 100 miles, average miles per kilowatt hour. All the calculations are there. So if you're interested in seeing your name on the list, submit some more trips and you'll move up the list and appear in the top 20 next month. So at a total level, we look at consumption by month, and you'll see on the chart the red arrow shows that it started in September because that's when I received my car. And so basically September to December is my recorded data. January and February are the months that have better contributions, and that's because all of you have been submitting your trips. If we look at February, the average kilowatt hours per 100 miles is standing at 40.21, or the equivalent of that in kilometers per, or kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers is 24.98. You see in since January it's decreased slightly by just over 1 kilowatt hour per 100 miles, and that could be due to the warmer weather we had in the second half of February. As we go through March, April, May, I expect that number to be coming down a lot more, and then we'll track that with your submitted trips. On the next page is the consumption split page. So one of the recently added switches on the form is whether you are recording a one-way trip or a return trip, and this page will break down the data based on whether it's one-way or return. Obviously it was only recently added and there's not many submissions with this data, but as we collect more we should start seeing a graph. The next page shows us the temperature in Celsius and how the different ranges are affected. So you see here, and the blue one at the top is all the trips registered in miles. The peach colored one is all the trips measured in kilometers or submitted in kilometers, and the green one at the bottom is a combination of miles and kilometers, so total. So in February you can see there's quite a wide range of temperatures. If you look at the green section at the bottom, it's ranging from minus 10 degrees C to somewhere below 30 degrees C. And for this month it's not showing us any specific trend. I would have expected the less than -10 number to be higher, but for some reason it's lower than the -9201. These numbers on the right reflect a total for all submitted entries. So we have 109 entries where the temperature was filled in, and the total overall will be tracked in the right hand chart. If we take a look at the same temperature but in Fahrenheit, the ranges are not exactly the same as Celsius, but you can kind of see a trend in February where the coldest is the highest consumption, with the warmer temperature being the lowest. The next page shows us whether you preheated your car before the trip or not. And with the cold temperatures in February, I guess there was a lot of preheating going on. In total, we had 15 trips registered where preheating was yes, and 62 trips registered where preheating was no. And as you can see from the February numbers, the difference is very close to 1 kilowatt hour per 100 miles. So not as much difference as I was expecting. The next page shows us wheel size. So we have the standard 19-inch, standard 20-inch, or the performance pack 20-inch. Here you can see a definite difference between the wheel size, with the 19-inch rims coming in at 38.8, while the performance pack tires are coming in at 45.6 for February, and the same pattern is shown in the total on the right hand side. Next page shows software version. So we assume that as the software gets better, some consumption gains will be made, and so this slide here records which month your current kernel software is, as displayed in the settings in the car. Next page shows one pedal driving. So lots of debate on this topic on the forums, and what it appears is that one pedal driving is simply a driving comfort thing that either you like it or you don't. If we look at the specific consumption numbers for one pedal driving, it's showing us currently that having one pedal driving off is more efficient than standard one pedal driving, with low one pedal driving somewhere in the middle. Next page is showing us air conditioning on or off. So this was a very recent item that was added to the form that you can fill in, and basically it's just to know whether your air conditioning was on or off, and that is the AC setting in the climate control. So you can have climate on without having AC on. Next page we've got is showing road conditions. So this is dry, mixed or wet road conditions when you do your trip. And looking at the combined item for February, you can see there's a definite step between the different values, with the difference being almost 6 kilowatt hours per 100 difference between dry roads and wet roads. The next page shows driving styles. So this was added after a suggestion from someone on the previous video or Facebook, and I came up with just 3 options: eco, normal or sporty. So eco mode is not a mode in the car, it's just the way that you think you're driving. So where you're trying to conserve energy, I would call that the eco mode. Normal is just day-to-day driving, and then sporty is put your foot down and see how quickly you can get to 60. So looking at the numbers for February, we have 2 eco entries, 4 sporty entries, and 31 normal entries. I don't see any kind of trend here yet, but let's see. This is also one of those new things that was added recently. Next one looks at speed. So I've taken the average speed submitted for each trip and put it into different bands. So you can see in the blue section I've got less than 30 miles per hour, then 30 to 50, and then 50 to 70. In the kilometers per hour, I've done a different band, so it's less than 40 kilometers per hour, then 40 to 80, 80 to 120. The combined one at the bottom takes all of the data, but just uses the mile per hour ranges. And you can see for February, definitely less than 30 miles per hour gives you a higher consumption of 46.3, with 30 to 50 and 50 to 70 almost identical. There's 0.1 difference between the two. The next page shows us distance. So what we're looking at here is the consumption based on distance of the trip. So here again we use ranges. On the February data you can't really see much there, except to say that the less than 20 mile trips are the worst consumption, with the others being relatively even. In kilometers again, I've done the ranges. So in February, for kilometer or trips submitted in kilometers, you can see there's a definite step down based on distance. The green box on the bottom right shows a bit more of a stepped thing based on the different ranges. The next one we look at is range. Okay, so we have two ways of calculating range. One is using the kilowatt hours per 100 miles, and we convert that into miles per kilowatt hour. Then we multiply that by 75. So the left hand side shows you again miles, kilometers, and combined the range using the kilowatt hour calculation, and you can see from January to February we've actually increased by 10 miles range, which is good. Most probably that's due to February being slightly warmer than January. And then you can see in the kilometer area, you can see it's gone from 281 in January to 317 in February. So it's also increasing there. And then the bottom green section shows you the combined miles plus kilometers calculation, and there it's going from 183 miles in January to 195 in February. The right hand side shows you the range that we've calculated based on how much battery has been used for your trip. So when you submit your trip, you can enter a starting battery number and an ending battery number. We then calculate how many percent you used for that trip and come up with also a miles per battery percent. Multiply that by 100, and that gives us this range. But it will be interesting over time to compare the range calculated using kilowatt hours and the range calculated using battery. If we look only at February for miles, you can see here we have one where it's standing at 188 miles range, whereas the calculation using kilowatt hours standing at 194. The next page shows you the range again, the same data, just this is only the range calculated using kilowatt hours. And if you're in the top, if your car is getting the most range by kilowatt hours, Your name will appear here on the right hand side, as many as we can fit on just one screen. And then you can compare also how many trips were done, what the distance is for those trips. The next page of course is exactly the same thing, but for battery percentage. So these are the submissions that did have battery numbers that we could calculate. So again, look into that and see if you can find your name. The next graph is the range by country. So obviously in a lot of these reports we're comparing all data no matter what the country, and obviously if you're in California, the weather's going to be much warmer than it is in Sweden or Norway. So on this page I've tried to separate the countries. So the blue section will show you if you've submitted in miles, and you can see the orange line is currently the UK, and the mustard color is the US, which is just one dot over there at the moment. On the bottom we have those submitting in kilometers, and we have here Belgium, Germany, someone in the UK submits in kilometers, Netherlands, Norway and Sweden. And you can see some lines. So here's Netherlands has got 3 month submissions across in 3 months, so you can see the line has started to draw. And Norway is also submitted January and February, so I expect when you get your March submissions in, that these graphs will start extending and will give us some idea or a way for you to compare the data from your country compared to how your car is doing. The last page we have is country details, so exactly the same as the previous page, just the actual numbers. So if you're interested, you can see here how many trips, how many miles or kilometers these trips were for each country, and then temperatures, kilowatt hours per hundreds, and then miles or kilometers per kilowatt hour that we've calculated, and the average range. So that's it. I will be publishing this report on the website at polestardriver.com. Please go there, take a look, download it, and see if you find anything interesting. If you think there's something else that we can look at, then drop me a note. You can find me on Facebook at Polestar Driver, or Twitter also at Polestar Driver, or leave your comments in below this video and I will look at all of them and see if there's any other interesting information we can detect and add to this report. Thanks again for everyone who submitted their trips. Please continue to do so. It's really interesting to see the data coming in and the trends that start appearing. For now, that's it. Please give this video a big like if you enjoy what you see, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click on the notification bell and select all so that you know when new videos are released. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.